Welcome to another episode of The Brand Called You, a podcast and podcast show that brings you leadership lessons, knowledge, experience, and wisdom from hundreds of successful individuals from around the world. I am your host, Ashutosh Garg, and today I'm delighted to welcome a very, very accomplished and multifaceted leader from the US, Mili Shah Esq. Mili, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Mili is a lawyer, a banker, and a hotelier. She is doing a lot of work for small businesses to help raise funding, and we'll talk to Mili a little more about it. So, Mili, let's start discussions on the multi-faceted journey you seem to have had from hotels to law to banking. Tell me about this journey.
Sure. So, I grew up in a hotel family. I was literally raised in a hotel in what's near Atlanta, Georgia, in the United States.
Mm-hmm.
And from that hotel experience, education is number one, especially in a South Asian family.
Mm-hmm.
My father said, oh, well, you can go to medical school or law school or engineering school. Mm-hmm. And so I ended up going to law school. Well, lucky for me, I went to a dual degree. So I did my law and MBA at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
So law degree and my master's of business administration degree. Mm-hmm. So that is the hotel, law and banking together. But when I graduated law school, I decided to go work for a law firm, which allowed me to go represent bankers, hoteliers, and other small businesses. Mm-hmm. So from there, the career path, progresses forward, and I continue to see wear all three hats every day.
Mm-hmm. So, just help me understand. You see, you handle all the three parts every day. Can you help me understand that?
Sure. So, I do have my own law firm, and I see banking clients, hotel clients. People come to me for financing, to help them find financing for their small businesses, be it a gas station, a hotel, a liquor store. It could be any type of small business. Mm-hmm. So I try to use my cap to help them, in these three different facets, which is owning a small business. You always need funds, and there's always legalities included into closing the deal. So that is kind of where I cross my paths. To help others.
And you focus primarily on the hospitality sector, is it?
No, I focus on everything. I specialize in hotels because I grew up on one, and I know the most. I can. Every business has the same issues, right? Whether it's financial, labor, profit and loss. So all businesses do see the same type of numbers, right? Mm-hmm. But it's about how you can help the business grow and expand. But yes, hospitality happens to be a specialty for me.
Mm-hmm. And when you look at, let's look at each of the three businesses that you do individually. Mm-hmm. I know in your office, they're all combined. But let's start looking at what are some of the challenges and learnings you have when you look at the hotel business, and what has been the impact on your business from a legal perspective and a banking perspective post the pandemic.
Sure. So I think the number one thing in the hotel business we learned, in last 2020 and now is you must have good relationships with your banker. Mm-hmm. The payment that's due is the mortgage payment on your property. If Correct. You cannot pay that payment, well, then you lose the property. So relationships with your bankers, many people survive because they had long-standing relationships, good payment history, just good relationships with their bankers. So when it came time to, asking for help, such as a payment deferral or interest only, on a lot of bankers were able to give that. Same thing in the legal realm. If there are any other legal pending issues, insurance issues, contract issues with vendors, this whole supply chain just suddenly stopped overnight. It wasn't right. It was a tragic stop. So you have to have these good relationships. And I always tell people, I'm like, you have to have your lawyer and your accountant on speed dial, right? Any given point you need them or you need to call them, you should.
Very interesting. But the other thing that I was reading when I was, working on preparing for my conversation with you is that in the hotel business in the last 2 years, there has been a lot of acquisitions that have happened. And at the same time, there are a whole lot of new boutique properties that have come up.
Yes.
How has this impacted some of your clients?
So I think people will always keep building. There will always be value in real estate, right? We like to say real estate appreciates. What better way to own land, own a building on it, and operate a business on it?
Mm-hmm.
People, that is their home. That is
Mm-hmm.
where they stay, they live, their kids live, they operate the hotel 24/7. Remember, we are the only business in the entire world,
Mm-hmm.
aside from that is 24/7.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, our doors never shut, hotels always stay open. So I think there are always hotels to buy, there are always hotels to build. And I
Mm-hmm.
think the concept is coming because a new generation, a new wave, whether it's millennials, Gen Z, everybody is seeing a different type. They don't typically want to stay in the franchise hotel now.
Mm-hmm.
They want this independent boutique hotel that's a little bit funky in a different location. So that's where you see the boutique hotels popping up. And remember, hotels are not abiding by any of the franchise regulations because they don't have to literally do whatever they want. They can serve breakfast, not serve breakfast. They can put soap in the room or put a high-end soap in the room.
Mm-hmm.
They can do whatever they want. So I think that is going to be a new wave. It is already a new wave, and it's going to continue to feed into this new generation of travelers.
The other interesting thing that I have been reading and observing is that in the hotel business, while leisure travel seems to be shooting up, business travel has not really picked up. What will this do to the financial situation of a lot of hotel properties?
So we're experiencing that right now.
Yeah.
We're waiting to see if that business travel is going to come back. Some people say, well, it's going to be virtual for a while. And the other part is even the companies are mandating that the workers come back, but the workers don't want to come back, right? Work. So we're waiting on the office buildings to come back, which it's not going to come back at 100% what it was. It may come back at maybe 50%. And then business travel, we hope, will resume, but it may take another year or two. So again, these hotels, these large hotels that depend on conventions, business travel, constant fill up Monday through Friday or Monday through Thursday, they're going to have to wait it out. And they're going to have to, unfortunately, dig into their cash reserves to keep it whole for the time being.
But the US is an absolutely fascinating market as far when it comes to hotels and tourism. So, one on the one side you've got these big box hotels that you just spoke about, and the other side there are hundreds of thousands of small motels.
Yes.
And then of course you got the Las Vegas type of glitzy, huge properties, etc. What has been the impact on the different segments? I mean, you just spoke that these big conventions will have to wait and dig into the reserves. What do the small business hotel owners do?
So I actually think the small business hoteliers, the independent hoteliers, the roadside motels, they did the best during the pandemic and even the exterior corridor properties, everybody for decades wanting to stay in interior corridor properties, the exterior ones being outside did the best. And so when I talked to my colleagues, profitability was their number one. Obviously, they had the highest revenue numbers in the last 5 years, but they had high, right? So I think the hoteliers that, like I said, economy hotels, budget hotels, independent hotels throughout the US, compared to the hotels that cater more to businesses or the bigger resorts or casinos or anything like that, because those were all travel dependent. So that's where we saw the biggest difference and the most surprising difference.
And the small business owners that you are saying seem to be thriving or seem to have done well in the last 24 months. What is driving traffic to their properties?
It is all transient business passing through the town. It may be a little bit of leisure. It's people that just want to get away for a road trip. They don't want to fly anywhere. They can just get a car and go across country or north, south. That's what's driving that business. And they're able to, control the cost and raise the rates. And remember, these are the hotels that generally they don't even have to serve breakfast so far in their room. Of course, they choose to. with customers, but they're fully independent on what they can do.
Fascinating. So, Mili, now let's talk a little bit about banking. Um, and I know you're an expert, I'm not, but let me start by asking you that, you know, how is banking changing in the US with all this new technology and digitization coming in?
Sure. So obviously banking in the US is highly regulated. And so there's no way past that. Yes, there is all this new currency coming in, right? Cryptocurrency, things like that. But banking in the traditional sense still remains, because in order in the US, yes, there's the deposit side, the account. But in order to get a loan, I mean, you still walk into that traditional bank and talk to the loan officer. That is not changing anytime soon. Of course, the back end side, when you're talking about digital IT part, that is always evolving, right? But human interaction, I don't think is going away anytime soon, because people need that to grow their business, to buy a business, to sell a business. I think commercial loans, business or residential loans, that's not anytime soon.
Very interesting. But just to continue with the same discussion, when I look at what is happening in India in terms of digital banking, where there are billions of transactions being done by some of the most economically weaker sections as well, using their mobile phone. When I travel to the US, I still find it's the credit card or the check. I'd love to get your perspective on what is going to make America change to empower banking in every single individual's hand through their smartphone.
So I think it's a generational gap. I mean, some of the generation, they want to take the physical check, take it to the bank, sign it, deposit it, right? Our generation may say, I'll take a picture on my phone and deposit it. I don't have time to go to the bank. So I think time will change things, because people over time will change. Again, it evolves. But I do think that traditional sense, sometimes it may not go, because we have a bank at every corner, right? India may have a billion people, and you may have one bank on one road. We have 5 banks on one road, and so we still like that human interaction to go and the banker, because again, it's all about that relation. Many of the people that were in business during the pandemic, they had been, forget with the loan officer, just with the teller or the front end person at the bank, they had seen them for the last 20 years, so that you'll never forget that human interaction. I think it's a little bit different.
So, you also speak about the SBA, the Small Business Administration, for raising loans. Tell me a little bit about how this works. I mean, can anyone just walk in and take a loan?
Sure. So the SBA was started by the U.S. government a couple of decades ago. It was started to help owner-occupied businesses, so not passive investment businesses, but owner-occupied, meaning that you were running the business. And hotels happen to qualify for owner-occupied business. Yes, anybody that qualifies, certain criteria can walk into a bank that offers SBA loans. Not every bank offers them for a loan, and the loan limit is $5 million. So people have used SBA loans to buy 1 or 2 businesses or properties, or the entire $5 million to buy 1 asset. So it is a very great program, and I will tell you that it became even more popular during the pandemic because of the relief the SBA program gave. So for example, if you are an SBA loan, you got 6 months paid for you of mortgage payments. If you're getting a new SBA loan during the pandemic, a certain period of time, you got 3 months paid for you. So people were running left and right to get an SBA loan. There's a lot of advantages because it is a government guaranteed loan.
And I'm assuming all these are collateralized.
Yes, they are.
With the property that you have.
With the property and maybe even something more. Be fully secured.
So one of the things that used to happen in the US was that I would take a loan against my property. 3 years later, the value of my property may have doubled, and I would take a second loan on the additional value. And that is what had led to problems. Has this changed now?
So it's more, so what you're talking about is a refinance cash out, right?
Correct.
Because you pay off the property with a new loan and you pocket some of the money, and you either money and go buy another asset. And so that's still available, but the rules have, because not as many people now want to put money back in your pocket. They just want to, pay off the loan balance and move on. But that's not to say that there are places all over, and there's certain types of loans like CMBS, those types of loans that is simply meant for this, for refinance a high value property at a low debt and the rest of the money in cash out. So that is still around, yes.
Interesting. So now if I was to try and tie up all your three skills, between your legal qualification, between your banking knowledge, and between the hoteliering that you have grown up in, if you were to make a pick to decide which one would I want to focus the rest of my life in, what would you pick and why?
That's a very difficult question, especially for me. I generally wear those hats every day. I know people say, well, how can you? There's not one that I could pick, and I know that doesn't answer your question, but if I go and pick hotel, I may run into a legal issue with an employee or a finance. If I pick law, I'm representing every day hoteliers. If I pick banking, I am giving money every day. Somebody every day in this country is buying a business or selling a business.
I understand.
So even if I try to only focus on one thing, if somehow or another a phone call comes in, hey, Mili, I'm looking for financing. Also, by the way, if I get the financing, are you able to help me look at my loan documents, review my loan documents? So it's very difficult for me personally to pick.
I take your answer, but what you are saying, absolutely acceptable. So, Mili, I have time for 2 or 3 more questions, and my viewers and listeners love to get to know my guest. I'm going to ask you 3 or 4 questions, which I call personal questions.
Sure.
So, my first question to you, Mili, is for someone who so young as you and who seems to be so accomplished, what does success mean to Mili?
Success is constantly learning and thriving. You can success at whatever age you want. You can have a definition of success. To many, success means happiness. Success means more wealth. But whatever makes you happy at the end of the day is success to you, right? I can continue to learn. I can continue to grow. I can continue to expand clients. Right? Will that make me happy or not? So in my definition, I am successful if I am truly happy at what I'm doing.
Fascinating. A follow-up question to success is, who or what inspires you to keep doing so many amazing things?
I mean, this is going to sound like a typical answer, but it is my father. I mean, he came like many immigrants to this country with $7 in his pocket. He worked at a hotel and finally grew. And so just almost by mistake, I'm following his steps. It wasn't intentional, but he was the #1 believer in education and still is. And he said, without that, and you're lucky that you have it, but without that, you can't help others. So yes, traditionally speaking, of course, both my parents are my inspirations. One has very much supported me and one has guided me.
Wonderful, wonderful. My next question to you is, do you have any regrets?
I never say I have regrets. One thing I've learned in life is change is permanent. You have to adjust. If there are successes, there are failures, there are things that went upside down, there should never be regrets, because everything is a learning lesson. And I constantly say that you have to adapt. You have to have the ability to change, because change is permanent.
And Mili, my last question to you, and I'm going to come back to what you said right in the beginning about South Asia and South Asians. I've often said people in South Asia, India, South Asia, don't teach children it's okay to fail. We're always taught go first in class, head of the line, and that manifests itself in our behavior patterns. And I don't know if or when you have visited India, but you will have 9 cars and on a three lane traffic light, or when you're getting off, the guy sitting in the last row in coach is trying to be the first one out, etc., etc. My question to you is, what have been some of your learnings from some of your mistakes?
Oh man, learnings from mistakes. So I think back to your comment, yes, we are always pushed to do the best. It's just in our nature and our culture, and it has the Atlantic Ocean, even to the
Absolutely.
United States, those same values. So I would say my biggest learning are always be adaptable.
Mm-hmm.
Listen. Sometimes we speak more than we listen.
Mm-hmm.
That's important, especially in our face-to-face client interaction,
Mm-hmm.
and continuously learn. You are always a student in your entire life. You
Mm-hmm.
are always continuously learn. Um, and I think that sums it up. I am learning every day new things. I mean, I learn from my own clients.
Mm-hmm.
What's going on. So I think you have to be a student the rest of your life.
Fantastic. Mili, on that note, thank you so much. It's been such a privilege speaking to you. I mean, I've not met anybody so far in all the people with all the people I've spoken to who's so diverse in terms of your specialization, hotelier, banker, and a lawyer. I mean, these are very unique skill sets that are all, part of one individual, which is Mili Shah Esquire. Thank you for talking to me, and good luck.
Thank you so much, Ashutosh. I enjoyed our conversation. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Thank you for listening to the Brand Called You videocast and podcast, a platform that brings you knowledge, experience, and wisdom of hundreds of successful individuals from around the world. Do visit our website www.tbcy.in to watch and listen to the stories of many more individuals. You can also follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Just search for the Brand Called You.